Let's have an honest conversation about closure, because I don't know anyone, very, very few people are able to get closure from the other person. Very few people are able to sit down with their ex and have a really great, healthy conversation. I think for us normal folk, that doesn't really happen. You're not able to even acknowledge how you're feeling to this person because they don't want to hear it, or they're not able to even have that kind of accountability and take responsibility for their own actions. And so you're kind of stuck playing this game where you feel like you just can't move on because you're either waiting for the apology, you're waiting for the recognition that you're probably not going to get. All I wanted when I was going through my separation and then my divorce, and even afterwards when I had to still co-parent with this person, all I wanted was the acknowledgement. All I wanted was to hear that, hey, what I did to you was absolutely horrible. So now you're left with a broken heart, with uncomfortable feelings, with feeling sad, with feeling betrayed, whatever that is that you're feeling right now. And all you want is the humanness from this person to be able to acknowledge at least what they did, and that they're actually sorry that they did that. Even honestly, when I learned about forgiveness and moving on and what that actually meant, I realized that none of what I was looking for I didn't need to get from him. The part of me that was really looking to get something from him was my ego and my wounded self. So whenever you're starting to feel uncomfortable, those parts of you are going to come out, and they're going to want that acknowledgement. They're going to want that I'm sorry. They're going to want that humanness from that person. Remember what I said in the beginning. Of course, it would be absolutely amazing if you could get that from that person, because that just means that they have empathy and that they care on some level about you and about what they did to you. But most people who hurt you in such a horrific way don't have that capacity to be human, because that's why they did what they did. They don't have that capacity to put someone else in front of them to say, wow, if I do this, and maybe I really want to do it, but if I do this, this is going to hurt this person in such a way. So you're dealing with a selfish person. You think for a second that they're going to be able to acknowledge what they did and how they hurt you? No, because in order for them to do that, they would have to be very uncomfortable. They would have to feel guilt. They would have to feel shame. And those are two things that especially someone who's narcissistic is not willing to do. What I learned and what everyone told me was that I was never going to get those things because energetically I needed it. I needed it so badly. I needed it in order to move on. So when I started really learning about energy and realized, like, okay, just like law of attraction, it's the same thing. If I need something so bad, then I'm never going to get it. And guess what? When I actually did get the acknowledgement, when I actually did get that some sort of a, hey, I'm sorry for what I did kind of apology conversation, it was when I literally didn't need it anymore. It meant absolutely nothing. And I know that sucks for you to hear, but the truth is, you don't need it. So here's what I did to start giving myself closure, because I knew in those moments of me being in such heartbreak and despair, I was never going to get that acknowledgement from that person. Hey, I hurt you. Hey, I'm sorry for what I did. Hey, I'm a little screwed up. Hey, I'm a little narcissistic. Nope. None of that is going to happen. So once I kind of accepted that, okay, that's not going to happen, then I had to really focus on the 1, 2, 3. So the 1, 2, 3 is that I had to accept the reality of my situation. I had to learn how to have boundaries, not just with this person. Some people can just say, okay, I'm going to go no contact and just be done with it. The thing about no contact, and while it's something that's absolutely amazing, I do think that there is something really powerful about not being able to go no contact. So when you can't go no contact with someone, sometimes I honestly think that's actually the best thing, because now you are challenged in such a way that you would never have been before if you could just say, hey, out of sight, out of mind, I never have to see you again. But the fact that I had to deal with this person every single day meant that I had to really work on some things inside of myself that I would have never worked on if I could have just said goodbye and I never want to see you. So I had to really understand what was happening and reflect on the situation. That way, when I started ruminating, I wasn't ruminating on a faulty story. Yes, of course, I was the victim to a situation and a circumstance, but I was not a victim to how I was feeling. When you go through a painful situation, someone hurts you, someone betrays you, and you're having to give yourself closure, heal all by yourself. No one's there saying, oh my God, I can't believe what I did to you. I'm so incredibly sorry. This is none of that. None of that is happening. So when you have to give all of that stuff to yourself, the good that comes of that is, first off, you are not at the mercy of someone behaving in a lovely, healthy way in order for you to feel good, which is great, meaning I'm not dependent on you acknowledging what it is that you did. That's perfect. We want to do that. When you are that self-empowered to say, okay, I'm going to start giving myself closure and I'm going to understand what this means, you also will start really, really working on your own identity again. You start being more confident. You start really focusing on self-care. You just are diving and pouring into yourself, because what you're trying to do is not just like give yourself closure and like move on. You're also trying to like feel good again. Like you're in pain. You're in utter heartbreak right now. You're in disappointment. You're in anger. You're in frustration. And because you're living in all those spaces, which is perfectly normal for what you went through, you are at a place where you're trying to like not stay stuck there, but also work on how you actually feel. Most people don't do that. Most people either just stay stuck there or they just ignore how they feel. So the fact that you're trying to do both, that is a level of self-empowerment that like you didn't have before. That means that you're moving into a healthy space, you're learning who you are again, you're working on your confidence, your self-esteem, your self-worth. Like life is going to start getting better because you are starting to take real responsibility for your life, for your happiness, regardless of what other people do. That is not a victim mentality. That is a healthy, regardless of my situation and circumstance, I am going to learn how to take care of myself. But of course, there's those dark days. There's the days where you are just heartbroken. The days where the tears won't stop. The days where the anger seems so much and you're just like, when am I going to not feel like this again? Believe me, getting the anger, getting the sadness out, getting the frustration, it is part of this. So there were so many aspects of like self-development that I was diving into. I was getting into like my physical health. Can't tell you how many times I just had to like get off the treadmill, get out of like the gym space that I was at, go to the bathroom and cry. Can't tell you how many times I had to do that because that's what I needed. I got 5-10 minutes out of a workout. I'm listening to some music. I'm feeling so great. And all of a sudden, like the sadness hits me. Or going to a yoga class, doing yoga, and like at the end of it, just like laying there in a meditation and the tears are just like falling down. Like you have to dive into self-care in order for you to get out any pent up anything that's happening. And please have patience with yourself, because I'm telling you, the more you judge yourself for feeling how you're feeling, the more you're going to stay stuck there. You're never going to really process how you feel if every single time you feel something, you're just constantly judging yourself or shaming yourself for feeling it. There's no rhyme or reason for feelings to come up. And even when you're highly sensitive, then you learn like, okay, feelings can come up for a very, very long time because you are so sensitive, because what happened really hurt you. It really mattered. Like you cared. When something is that deep and that painful, you're not going to just like move on in 3 months. We want to learn from experiences so we can heal from them, so we can move on and not make the same mistake twice. So what we're craving is to feel some kind of empathy from this person, of course, but let's just cross that off because we're never going to get it. You're never going to get some kind of an acknowledgement from someone who can't acknowledge even what they did to you, when someone is just denying what they did to you or they can't even accept it. And the reason why they can't acknowledge it or accept it and have absolutely no empathy for you is because it will make them feel uncomfortable, and they refuse to feel uncomfortable, so they will just either deny or suppress. Or maybe you can't deny it, maybe it's so black and white. Hey, what you did is very black and white, there's no way to deny it, here's the proof. But to be able to like say those words like, I did this, I acknowledge that I hurt you, that all of that means that they have to sit in guilt and shame. And anyone who is really, really toxic or narcissistic has an inability to do that. You have to be very healthy in order to sit in guilt and shame, because now you have to work through that, meaning the person that did the wrongdoing. So the person that did something to hurt you, they kind of have to go through the same process as you in a way. They have to learn how to forgive, which is self-forgiveness they have to do. They are going to sit in something uncomfortable. For them, it's guilt and shame. For you, it's anger and sadness. And they have to consciously start deciding to move on and deciding to forgive themselves. So they have to forgive themselves and you have to forgive them. So you're at a place where you're ready to do all of this work on yourself. You're feeling self-empowered, like you're self-reflecting, you're learning how to forgive and understanding that that's a practice. You're learning how to accept the situation for what it is. You're going through moments of going to the gym and crying and getting it out. And this person, guess what? They haven't volunteered to do any of that. They haven't raised their hand and say, you know what? I'm going to do all of that as well. I'm going to really work on myself. I need to acknowledge what I actually did to her or him. Being able to accept what was happening to me was not easy. Yes, I could logically understand what he did and maybe why he did it, but that didn't mean that my heart wasn't still broken. I had to learn how to soothe myself. I had to learn how to not think that what was happening to me was the most horrific thing in the world and that I was such a victim, because that wasn't going to make me feel self-empowered to then rebuild and move on. What helped me to have strength to be able to really move on was when I started working on other areas of my life. When I wasn't so focused on him and being angry or being sad, when I was like, okay, I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to, go online and create a meetup group and find some new girlfriends. I'm going to go on a trip. I'm going to do something out of my comfort zone. When I started pushing myself out of my comfort zone to create like a different life, I felt so empowered that anything that he possibly did to me was going to stop me from feeling strong enough to rebuild my life. If you've been through hell and back and you've done all this work on yourself, do not let any amount of fear or anything that anyone else has ever done to you that's hurt you or disappointed you to stop you from getting better than what you were getting there. And that's what all of this is about. This is about you not just like healing from that and getting closure and moving on, but it's also about rebuilding. And you have to really, really do both. And you are doing both all at the same time. If you guys are interested in taking my Heal and Rebuild online course, I will link it down below. It's an amazing course. And I always tell you guys, if you do any of my courses, this is probably the best deal because it's basically like getting a course for free, essentially. I'll link it down below. It's basically 9 weeks of emotional healing. And then we work on rebuilding, and we're working on all aspects of your life. We're talking about dating, career, friendships, hobbies, everything, self-confidence, boundaries, standards, all of the good stuff. So if you're interested, definitely start that course. You will also get access to my online community through my own app, which I'm so happy about, that is live now. So you guys go check it out. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, don't forget to share, like, subscribe, do all the things, and I will see you in my next video.